try again. Hey guys, it's Ghost Queen. It's Friday night. And I'm back for another little chat and another little hangout. And I'm waiting for a couple of my mods, hopefully, to show up. We shall see. What a crazy day it's been today. You know, it's funny because you'll often, ever since the paranormal kind of like blew up and became super popular and started becoming a lot more mainstream and whatnot, you'll hear people say, and just so many people say it, like that they're an empath. And, it became a very trendy thing to call yourself an empath. Although why anyone thinks that's like an enviable thing or a cool thing or whatnot, I don't know, because it ain't much fun being an empath. It really isn't. And you're moody and, yeah, difficult to live with. All those fun things. So, yeah. And when there's a lot of, like, crappy things going on in the world, I think I can swear again. I don't think I have to really watch my language. But anyway, when there's a lot of like really crappy things going on in the world, you can also just like start taking way too much in, and you have to really learn how to block well. So I stopped watching the news like years ago. I just realized, like, wait a minute, I don't think this is good for me. This isn't healthy for me to watch the news, and I stopped watching it. I stopped reading newspapers. I stopped watching the news. But nowadays with social media, it's kind of like hard to avoid. It's everywhere in your face. So, yeah. I read about a lot of really awful things today, and not in depth because I didn't want to go in depth with it, but it kind of was dragging me down a little. Ugh. Blech. Push it out. Push it away. Wipe it clean. So I hope everybody's doing well tonight. It's Friday night, as I say. We haven't really done much today. We did go to the vape shop, but aside from that, it's been kind of a quiet day. It was pouring rain here today. I mean, buckets, buckets, buckets. And this morning, it was pretty stormy too, like thunder and lightning. And it's been kind of draggy, rainy weather for days now here in Louisiana. So I'm a little over it. I like rainy days, but not like every day till the end of time. I like variety. So I'm getting a little over it. I'm ready for it to pass. I'm ready for it to go by. So I got a new coil, new coils for my Aegis Geek Vape. Greek Vape or Geek Vape? Geek Vape, but it is Greek because it's Zeus. Zeus. Both places. So I got new coils for this today, so that was good. I've been out for a little bit, not too long, but a few days. And I've got my maple donut bar back in there. God, I love that juice. So tasty, so yummy, so good. So yeah, I'm psyched. Now I have to get coils for my Vupu 2 because now that coil just burnt out. So crazy. So yeah, we went to the vape shop. I actually did get 2 new juices today. I'm gonna grab them. I haven't tried them yet, but I did get 2 new juices. This is what I am vaping on. Barista Brew Company Maple Bar Donut, and it is almost, let me turn the light off. It's almost gone. There we go. Woo. Yeah, it's almost gone. Now I need a little light. Oh my goodness. Everything's messing up today. So yeah, I've got to get some more of that. Luckily, I bought that in our town at a local shop. Now I messed up my camera. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm vaping on tonight. these are the two new juices I got. This one was on sale. It was like on clearance. And it's Fight Club Split Personality. And I haven't tasted it yet, but it smells very, very strong of pear. And I had recently got a juice that threatened pear, but I didn't really get much of the pear. So that one, I smell pear pretty strong, and I'm looking forward to trying it. This one was actually recommended to me by the guy who works in the vape shop, who's actually from New England, a young kid that Wayne and I both like. And I'm really picky about my vape juice, and they know it there at this shop that we usually go to. Hey, how are you? But he knows me, and he knows what I like, and he recommended this, and I'm always skeptical when they recommend a juice to me, but I smelled it and tasted it, and I liked it. It's called Madison Vape Moonlight Especial. And I don't even know that I can describe the flavor, but it's sort of like a spice cake sort of thing, I guess. I mean, I was searching for like a maple or a pancake or a waffle or, you know, a French toast, something like that, which they don't, I already know they don't have what I want there. But he suggested this to me. I smelled it, I tasted it, I liked it. I said, you know what, I'll give it a shot. I was sort of surprised because, hey, Dreama, normally people cannot choose a vape for me. I'm just so picky. But I liked it. So I've got two new juices to try. I'm still like majorly on the hunt for a really good bubble gum. I have to find a really good bubble gum, and one without fruit. That's one thing with the vape juices these days. They just have to put fruit in everything. And like, I'm a little bit of a purist. I don't want fruit in my bubble gum. Thanks, but no thanks. It's almost impossible just to find plain bubble gum anymore. It's changed. The whole vaping industry has changed. But yeah, so I'm still on the hunt. So that's that. So one of the things I was going to talk about tonight, I was going to share a little story straight away, just because it's funny, at least to me, and interesting, and just, you've heard me, I always talk about synchronicity and how I'm very in tune to synchronicity, and I have been most of my life, but it just grows and grows over the years. And I've had some really weird, funky, unique, whatever you want to call it, instances of synchronicity happen to me throughout my life. And it always just blows me away, but it also, it's just, I don't know, for me, synchronicity, the best way to sort of sum it up, the guy is crying, that's funny, hey Shan. The best way to sum it up is, to me, it's sort of like the universe kind of waving at me, you know, in a playful, fun, happy way. That's how I interpret it, and so it always just kind of fills me with joy. That's the best way to describe it when this sort of thing happens. And it happens to me quite often. And now, I think you've heard me mention Frater Xavier before. He has a very large channel on YouTube called Mind and Magic. He's a right-hand path practitioner, excellent teacher. He has a free program on his YouTube channel called The Mystery School. Go to the first video, watch them all. You can learn a lot. I always recommend him to people. But anyway, he talks about, and of course I'm going to forget what words he used. He just put out a video recently where he was talking about this. But it's sort of like whether everything is of a grand design or whether everything's sort of up to fate and chance and free will and all that. And, you know, which it is, and you know, he says he's somewhere in the middle, and I'm sort of the same. I'm somewhere in the middle with it. You know, I do think that there are such things as accidents. I certainly don't believe you can control everything. but I think we have a lot more control. We can have a lot more control than most of us realize. And but I do think there is a little bit of a grand design, and this sort of thing that just happened. This is why I believe that. So here's the story. Without further prelude, my rambling prelude. So I grew up in Western Massachusetts, and I left right after high school. At the age of 17, I moved to Boston. I lived there for 10 years. I lived in Newport, Rhode Island for 10 years. And then for a good couple of years, I moved back to my hometown and my childhood home before I came here. And but once before I had moved back to that area also, I kind of went back and forth for several years in between Newport, Rhode Island, and the area where I grew up in Western Mass. And so at this point, back in 2011, I was living in my grandparents' home. They were deceased, and I was living in their home, and with my husband and my 4 children. Hectic at that period of my life. But because I was back in the area after having been gone for a very long time, I was sort of reconnecting with, some old friends and stuff and people I went to high school with. So I was hooking up with a lot of people I went to high school with on Facebook and adding a lot of people. And I ended up private messaging with a girl I went to high school with. She wasn't like a real close friend of mine, but, it's not a huge school. Like most of the people in my year I knew or knew of. So we had a brief conversation, and it was pretty brief. We just, chatted on Messenger pretty briefly, and that was that. And I hadn't talked to her since. Now, fast forward to, not too long ago when I started following Katie, Miss Wonderful. I saw somebody in her chat that was a mod that I thought was someone that I knew from high school. And I'm very good with names, and, no, that's not true. Sometimes I forget names, but like, if it's somebody I've known for a while, I'll never forget their name. If it's somebody I've just met, it might take me a few. But if it's somebody I know, I'll remember names. I definitely always remember faces. So I was like, I really think that one of her mods is somebody I went to high school with, and that's fucking weird. Like, Katie doesn't live anywhere near where I grew up. So it was just strange. And I do know the internet is people from all over, but nonetheless, it just seemed kind of coincidental. So I just this morning chatted with this person privately for the first time. And so when I messaged her, I saw our chat from back in 2011, which was the last time I had contacted her. And so I kind of brought it up again, something I had said to her in 2011. And I had asked her about this in 2011, something that I remembered, and I asked her if I was remembering correctly that she was the person I was thinking of, and she told me, no, she didn't think so. And then we spoke today, and I brought it up again, and she asked me to sort of elaborate, and I did, and we figured out that I was right, that she is the person that I thought she was. And I'm going to tell the story so it'll start making sense, but that is kind of the whole point. Is I wanted to share the story kind of with her, but I wanted to tell you guys as well, and I wanted her to be able to see me as I tell the story, just because it is a little bit of a personal thing, and I want her to rather than, you know me with the texting, I'm always like it's very impersonal, so I wanted to be me sharing this story be a little bit more personal. So I told her I would send her a link to the show after the show and whatnot, so she could watch it at her leisure. So that's that, and I'm not going to go into detail about who she is or any of that. It's not my business to share that sort of stuff. Um, but the story I am going to share. So back, my father came from the Boston area, and he went to UMass Amherst and studied to be a CPA. And so when my parents initially I lived in the Boston area with my parents, and I'm an only child, so it was only ever me and my parents. And but they ended up moving. So I started out in the Boston area, but then they ended up moving to Western Mass, probably because my mother's family was out there. So when they first moved to the town that I ended up growing up in, they moved into like an apartment building while they looked for a house to purchase. And so during that time that I was living there, um, I used to play around. It was like an apartment complex, so there were a couple of levels, but there were also houses like on either side of it and whatnot. So sometimes I was playing around, when you're a little kid. I mean, we're talking like 4 and 5 years old, but I'm running around and like a wild child, like I've always been. One thing I used to do actually was I used to follow the postman around as he would go from like building to building delivering the mail. And it, if you only children can understand this, but oftentimes if you're an only child, it's a lonely fucking life. Like you don't have other kids to play with. So you're always having to make your own way. So I would follow the mailman around and yeah, and just play outside and whatnot. So I was playing with this girl one day, and I don't remember really anything else from that time. I wasn't there that long, it was only probably a year or less. And and then I had been set to enter a school that was right down the street, actually, that my son ended up going to later in life. But then we moved into the house, so I went to a different school. So at any rate, I was playing with this girl one day, and I remember as us standing in a parking lot. And I don't remember what we were doing. All I remember is this traumatic event that happened. So I recall her and I standing next to each other, and a dog came bounding at us, and it was a German Shepherd. And I remember very clearly the dog coming at us in sort of a vicious, snarling, barking, high energy, hyped up way. And I remember the dog like coming very fast at us, stopping. He looked at me. I remember making eye contact with the dog. He looked at the girl next to me. He looked back at me and made eye contact with me again. And then he lunged for the girl and he bit her in the face. And like he took a good chunk out of her face. And then that's all I remember. Like I don't remember what happened after that. I don't remember what happened before that. But that memory has always been ingrained in my mind. And I can remember it like it just happened today. It's crazy. And it's because it was traumatic. And what's funny is that she doesn't remember it because it was more traumatic for her, obviously. So, yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Now, I didn't go to grade school with her. We went to different grade schools. And then once we hit junior high school, we went to the same junior high school. And as soon as I saw her in the school, I knew it was her, and she didn't remember me. And I never wanted to say anything. I felt awkward about it. I didn't know how traumatized she was from it. And I just felt uncomfortable bringing it up. So I never did. I never approached her about it. And we weren't like super good friends. We knew of each other, but we were not good friends in junior high school or high school. Um, I don't recall. I mean, it's not like we didn't like each other. I think pretty sure we were friendly, but like we didn't hang out or anything, as I recall. So it's just kind of odd. But all along, I always knew she was that girl, and that we had experienced together a very traumatic moment. And but I don't know. You know how kids are in junior high and high school. It's like everybody has like weird issues going on and whatnot. And I never wanted to rock her boat. I figured her boat had been rocked enough. So I never brought it up. But just this morning, in this very brief private chat, we realized, like, yeah, we had been together as very, very young children and went through this experience. So, and it was really then, see, I mean, from a very, very young age, I had a special connection with animals. I always have, and I never was afraid of them, and I just have some kind of weird connection to animals, and I think the when the dog came at us, she was probably afraid, as any normal human being would. It was in a heightened state, and I believe it was snarling or growling or something, or barking. It wasn't seeming like it was friendly, and I'm sure we were both rooted to the spot, but I think she must have been really riddled with fear, and I think the dog sensed the fear, and that's why it went for her, and it's sad, and just because I can so clearly remember making eye contact with the dog twice, you know, and um, and I don't remember being afraid at all. So it's just the whole thing. It's just weird. It's one of those weird things. But then to connect now when I'm 51, in a fucking drama internet chat, like the whole fucking thing is weird. But in a sort of comforting way. And I don't know how else to explain it other than that. To me, at least, because, like I say, to me, it's just another instance of synchronicity. And I've had all these weird things like this happen throughout my whole life. So, as I say, I feel like it's just, kind of the all waving at me, like, hi, we see you. You see how we see you? That sort of thing. That's how I always interpret it. So it makes me feel good. I don't know how else to say it. So um, I'm always encouraging people to try to get in touch with that sort of synchronicity that exists, because once you do, it just gets sort of weirder and weirder, I guess is the best way to put it. So yeah, pretty interesting story. She did have a scar on her face, in junior high and high school. I don't know if she still has it now. I really haven't looked at her closely enough, her pictures or anything to know. Um, but she did, yeah, in high school. It was obvious she had a scar on her face from something. Um, yeah. So crazy story, huh? Life is strange. So that just happened this morning. I was raised by a military brat and only child. It really is a small world out there. It is. It's a small, small world after all. And I've had all sorts of things. Like, I've been in other countries and ran into people, and, just a lot of weird things always happen to me. I have tons of synchronicity stories of weird things that have happened over the years, but that's one that just happened. So, yeah, and it's just crazy. And, I do think it just gets to a point where if you've experienced enough of these things throughout your life, it gets to a point where it just doesn't really seem to make sense to call it coincidence anymore. It just doesn't. Yeah, and I know it does happen, but nonetheless, it just it's, I don't know. I guess all I can say is that in the way that it usually happens to me, it never feels like it's just a coincidence. Like it feels like there's a grand design, sort of thing. So, um, yeah, wild and crazy. So yeah, that's that. Um, I always love to hear other people's stories too of synchronicity. It's a crazy thing, and like I say, the more you sort of tune into it, you know, I mean, we all have those moments where like, you know, a song that seems to be perfect for the moment or whatever comes on the radio, or you know, a commercial comes on the TV. It can be anything, but like something happens and you're just like, whoa, and everybody knows what it's like to sort of have those feelings of deja vu. And, all that's all tied into synchronicity. But I just feel like the more aware of it you are and the more you do try to tune into it and sort of vibe on the same frequency, then it just sort of like opens the floodgates, and that becomes a huge part of your life. And at least that's how it was for me. So yeah, neat stuff. um, my older daughters found an apartment in Florida today, so that was exciting, sort of like a top half of a house. And I'm very happy for them. I can't wait to get the video walkthrough. So that's good. Um, yeah, not a ton of stuff to talk about today. I'm actually not going to go into the Sims case tonight. I hope you can bear with me. But when I'm going to talk about things like that, I have to be in the right frame of mind, and I'm not tonight. Um, So I'm just doing a little hangout tonight. I might have even canceled tonight. Like I'm a little low vibration, and you've heard me say a billion times. Like if I'm not really up, I don't necessarily like to put myself out interacting with the public because I don't want to poison the well, sort of thing. And I'm not like horribly depressed or anything, but I'm a little low vibration tonight. So um, I'm gonna keep it light. Let's put it that way. I'm going to keep it light and just hang out and chit chat a little bit. I'm also concerned still about Anita. I haven't heard how her surgery went. And, it's not like I'm her best friend or anything, but, I spoke to her. I made a connection with her. And so now I care about her. That's just how I am. And I'm worried about her now because I haven't heard how her surgery went, and I'm concerned. If you saw, I put up a video today. Please, if you can help out Bill and Anita, they are lovely people. Please, if you can help, do. So that might be another reason why I'm a little logy. Yeah. What can you do? Everybody has their days. I should probably like have a cocktail or something to lift up my mood. I'm gonna play with little Froggy here. He's kind of cute and sticky. um, I'm trying to think. There were a few things I was going to talk about tonight. Now, of course, my mind's like gone utterly fucking blank. um, what else did I see today? Oh, well, here's talking about Miss Wonderful on that same line of thought, train of thought, line of talk, whatever you want to say. Um, she is trying to do, I think, a podcast with a local radio person, local to her in Indianapolis, I think. And she is looking for people to support her with that. and send tweets or Facebook messages or whatever to the, and I said I would do it today, and I actually just haven't had the chance to do it yet, but I am going to try to do that for her. So if you follow her and you like her and you want to help her out as well, just check my Twitter tomorrow or something. You should see. I should have by then done something, and you can see. And originally, Pam and Rick at Shoot the Shit were going to do like a fundraiser for her, a Porch of Love, which they do once in a while to help people out. And originally they were going to do it for her to try to raise money so she could pay off her tax bill, so she could get the lien off her liquor license and blah, blah, blah. But as it turns out, they changed it because I guess Dylan the villain is going to help her pay it, which was decent of him. And so they did it for two other people, a woman named Penny, and then Sam, who's runs the boardroom in the drama community. I guess Sam is homeless and has been living in her car, which I didn't know. I think I might have heard something like that, but I thought like it was a joke. I didn't know they were serious. Had I known it was serious, I would have offered to help. But I didn't. I mean, not that I'm great friends with her either. It's just that's my nature. I can't help but to see people in trouble and want to help in some way. So at any rate, I hope they were able to raise some money for these ladies. And, I know a lot of people sort of look at me sideways when I say stuff like that because I gave Riley so much grief. But the thing is that the way that I look at it with Riley, first of all, I do sometimes view men and women differently. Sorry, but I do. So does the world. So, and basically, I didn't give Riley a ton of grief. In the beginning, when I saw where Riley was headed, I gave him a small amount of grief, and it wasn't really grief, it was just my opinion. I said, I don't think this is a great standard to set for the paranormal community, which I didn't think that at the time, because I just foresaw that it would create sort of like a door for all sorts of people to come in and be in the paranormal for the wrong reasons. And really, I still think that. Sorry, but I do. And it's not that I don't like people helping people when they need a helping hand. I'm all for that, and I've always been that sort of person. But I also think that there's certain people that maybe take advantage of that and maybe then become dependent on that and then, can't help themselves and whatnot. So I'm not going to get into it. I don't want to I've already said my piece about him in the past. And personally, I think he's been way nastier to me than I ever was to him. And it hurt me a little, quite honestly. So I don't want to get into a big thing about him. I've never been super fond of him. Some of the things that he does and the way that he acts just kind of turned me off. That's it, Clearly, we're not ever going to be friends, so it is what it is. But yeah, I certainly think that when people are in need, it's okay to reach out. And I would encourage people, please. There are many people who have too much pride to ask for help when they need help. And I know what that's like. Like, I'm a New Englander, we're grown very hardy and strong, and very proud. And, I was telling Wayne the other day, it's kind of like a different culture there to here. Like, in New England, you're raised to sort of, you don't talk about money. It doesn't matter if you're wealthy or if you're dirt poor. You don't talk about it because it's just considered distasteful, like uncouth, low class to discuss money. So you don't talk about how much things cost. You don't talk about whether you have money or whether you don't. And it doesn't matter if you're, poor where you're eating dirt cakes off the street. You don't ask for help. You don't beg. That's New Englanders are very stoic and very proud, and that's how we're raised. And so that's part of my nature too. Like it's, so I get it. People who are too proud to ask for help and they don't like charity and whatever. I get it. I'm the same way. But um, certainly if you have other people depending on you and you need help, you have to ask for help. That's it, you know? And even if you're on your own, you know, sometimes everybody needs help sometimes. Everyone, trust me, in one way or another. So, you know, I don't think it's a bad thing to ask for help. And yeah, that's it. That's all I'll say about that. And I certainly don't think it's a bad thing for people to help others. Please do help others more. More and more and more. So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't exhaust me because, hey, it's not really connected to me in any real personal way, so it doesn't really bother me. But I mean, I think that comes a little bit with the territory. Right, yeah, you don't talk about money, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, you know. It's just like, no, 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 you know, unless you want a nice big. Well, the money thing was sort of like, it's just, you know, it's just like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like uncouth, you know, you just don't do it, you know. And again, even people were if people were really poor at a point in their life where they were poor and struggling, it's like you don't talk about that, and you certainly don't fucking ask for help, and you don't take charity, and you just act like everything's fine. And if you're wealthy, you definitely don't talk about having money because you don't want anybody trying to get your money. You know, it's like there's all these weird sort of social norms. You know, and I'm sure in all different parts of the country there are different ones, you know. But being a New Englander down here, like I've definitely felt a lot of times like confused, or I don't fit in, or you know, I feel like a square peg in a round hole a lot of the times because things are just different, very different. So, um, not not that one's better than the other, just different. Yeah, big, huge cultural differences, and you know, even like a lot of, with the race stuff too, you know, like I talk to everybody. That's who I am, you know. And even in my own neighborhood I see, like, you know, I'm talking to a set of neighbors that maybe other neighbors are like wondering why I'm doing that, you know, like it's not normal or something. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't deal with racial stuff. Like I just can't. Like people are people to me, you know. Um, so yeah. Anyway, that's that. Ooh, the sticky frog. He's fun. I haven't played with him in a while. He's got like little styrofoam balls in him, and he sticks to my hand. It's a nice sensory thing. So what else do I have to tell you about? What else did I see today? Let me look on my calendar here too. Oh yeah, right. Um, oh, so if you watched my stream last night, I did go back afterward. I put a lot of links in the description. In fact, I didn't even finish kind of reviewing my stream to make sure I put everything in. I think I did. But if there was a link you were expecting that I missed, let me know. But I put a lot of information in the description of that video from last night, or yesterday during the day rather. So check it out. There's a lot of good info in there. And while I was doing that, I was trying to find somewhere, you know, in a blog or something that described my most favorite grounding technique, and I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for, and I didn't want to spend a ton of time looking either, so I just ended up making a quick video where I described to you my most favorite grounding technique, the one that I use the most. And so I did do a quick little video like that, and I posted it last night, I think. So you can check that out if you're interested. I do think grounding is very important. I don't think enough people who are involved in the paranormal do enough grounding, and I don't think they understand how important that is. It is really important to do. So, yeah, make sure you do a lot of grounding. And it's important no matter what you do. I think grounding is extremely important, no matter what you do. That's me. That's what I believe. So, yeah. And I put a very simple, easy technique on my most favorite way to ground in the video. So, check it out. And, I was going to mention something about that, too. And now I can't remember. It'll probably come to me. I was gonna, you know what? Hold the line for a moment, because I got to say something to Wayne, because I'm gonna forget if I don't. Wayne, can you hear me, Wayne?
What you said?
You know what I was thinking of today?
What's that?
You know those little yogurt jars?
The little glasses?
Yeah, the little glass yogurt jars.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think you could print out something I could put on top of them?
Print out something you can put on
No,
top of.
print out.
Oh, print out.
Can you
Yeah,
can
I'm sure I could.
can you print out things that are flexible,
Yeah.
like rubbery?
Yeah, I just need to get some TPU filament, but yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. Because I've been saving those, but I want little covers for them. Yeah, I'm a jar saver. Like, I hate to throw out glass. I'm actually more comfortable throwing out plastic than I am glass. And I hate throwing out glass. Oh, here's the other thing I just remembered. I caught an orb in my stream last night. That's the other thing. It's just a quick one, and it's not super bright or super huge or anything, but I did catch an orb just because I was reviewing, trying to make sure I had put all the links in, and I saw an orb. It like, you can't really see it right now because I got the light in the way, but see where this is? This grass? The orb like shot in front of it. And I put a time, I marked the time in the comments and in the description. If you're into such things, you can go see a little orb shot past me. So that was kind of cool. We have orbs a lot here. A lot. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I collect jars kind of, fanatically almost, obsessively. I collect jars. I always end up using them for something. So I get these little yogurts that I like, and they're glass, and I don't want to throw them out. We don't recycle here, so I save them to use for something. And but I wish I had a cover for them, so I wanted to ask Wayne if he could do that for me. And I knew I'd forget if I didn't ask him now. So that's that little story. I am going to read from my little daily journal here and see what it says for January 3rd. So when I was growing up, my grandmother never took the Christmas tree down until January 6th, which is, the Epiphany. And then we would celebrate something called, oh, hey there, Waylon. I haven't seen you in a dog's age. How are you? Great to see you back. So yeah, she would celebrate the Epiphany, and then she would celebrate something which she called Little Christmas. So it was, I'll tell you what, my grandmother did spoil me and everyone in that family rotten until she passed away, which is probably why she was my favorite family member. But yeah, so she would have like what she called Little Christmas. So we would get even more gifts on January 6th, the Epiphany, which is, for those that don't know what that is, it's when, supposedly the three wise men actually arrived at baby Jesus. So, with their gifts of frankincense and myrrh and other things. So, in my little my little daily cutesy spell journal. It says spell to banish your baggage. My closest girlfriend called me about wanting a spell for something like this right before New Year's. It's a good time to do that sort of thing. So this says you need a black handle, a piece of paper, a pen, and a fireproof bowl. This simple spell will help you tap into a bit of lunar energy to help get rid of the things that might be dragging you down from last year. Try to perform this spell on the night of January's full moon. I think it's a storm moon this month. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. Or on one of the 3 nights immediately afterward. And you can, the moon is full sort of like a day before and a day after as well. So, like, if you miss the full moon and you're like, oh shit, I missed the full moon, you can do it the next day. It's not a big deal. Okay. Think about all the baggage that has held you back, caused you problems, or made you feel unworthy. Write down these things and then light the paper in the candle's flame. Place it in the bowl to burn, and as it does, say, today I say farewell to the things that have prevented me from becoming the person I wish to be. I send you away, far away from me, and far from my life. You no longer have any influence upon me. You are my past, and the past is gone. I banish you, I banish you, I banish you. Once the paper has burned away to ashes, extinguish the candle, and then the next morning bury the ashes someplace far away from your home. And that's a great little simple banishing spell, absolutely. Yeah, Wayne's not really, he's here. He's not really on with me. He's in the other room. We are going to get back to streaming together soon. But in the meantime, I'm streaming on my own, on the regular. Here he is.
I'm here. What's up?
We love and support the Black Tower and encourage you to as well. So yeah, that is a really good little banishing spell, and I was just having this conversation with my girlfriend, actually. She was saying that she didn't feel comfortable keeping the ashes in the home and even putting them in the trash. And I said, no, you shouldn't. Get rid of them. I think she said she put them she dumped them in the ocean or in a river or something. And I was like, great idea, That is powerful. However, I would say you should also, after banishing something like that, you need to invoke or draw its opposite into your life immediately after. Well, that is a good point. And now that you're saying that, I'm thinking of Uncle Birch, who says that. He's like, if you banish, you must invoke. So that's a good point. Thanks for bringing it up. Absolutely. If you're going to banish something bad, invoke something good, because it's that law of polarity, and you can't have one without the other. So, yeah, it's a good point to make. Thank you. Yeah, we will definitely catch up soon. I mean, we should try to plan a get-together sometime with you and your wife also, because you're really, in the scheme of things, not that far from us. And I know Wayne would enjoy that, and I would enjoy that, and I'm sure it would be fun for all of us. So yeah, and this is a great time of year to do that sort of thing. Like I've been talking about for the past week. It's a great time of year to have a fresh start, have some new beginnings. And I do think it's, keep your expectations reasonable. Right, nature of war is a vacuum. That's absolutely correct. And I do think you should keep your expectations reasonable. That's coming from, one of the most undisciplined persons in the world, sometimes with some things, and then in other ways, I'm right Johnny on the spot. So it just depends. But, I agree that this is a great time of year to try to put your focus into making a fresh start with something and doing better. And I do think that should always be the goal, is to improve yourself. I hate being stagnant and having no growth or no movement, and you should always be striving for more. Um, However, keep your expectations reasonable, because the other thing that comes into mind, at least for me, is that especially in New England or places where it's colder, this, and you're right after the holidays. A lot of times people have spent a ton of fucking money. They've eaten too much and they've spent a lot of money, and then you're in the doldrums after the holidays where it's just kind of like a little boring, a lot of times shitty weather, and people can get really fucking low. I love those lamps that give you artificial sunlight. If you can afford one, invest in one of those. If you suffer from that seasonal affective disorder, get one of those lamps. I hear they really do help. And also, just because it's cold outside, that doesn't mean you can't go put your face in the sun. Get out and get your face in the sun. That will help, just getting some sunlight on your face. Right? Mortgage their homes for gifts. I know. People, I mean, that's what happens. you know, it's crazy, but it's what happens. So yeah, a lot of times people are a little low after the holidays, and it's like there's so much leading up to it, and we're all expected to just be cheerful and happy and it's like you go out driving and it's like, oh my God, people are driving like maniacs and the stores are overcrowded and everyone's bitchy and it's just like, oh yeah, I remember how fun this is. I don't know. It's just the older I get, the more I can see how I'm going to be like the perfect old curmudgeon. Like the cynical, grumpy, I can see it coming. I'm going to try to, tame it as much as I can, but like it's just there's a lot of just silly things in life, I think, and not that I haven't always known that I have, but the things that we do to ourselves can be very silly. It's all that time spent worn out from overtime at work and too little sleep and bills, then playing catch up. Yeah, so true. What are you moaning about?
She's got like 50 billion little styrofoam pellets all over the floor.
From what?
That toy,
From her new one?
the little brown one,
Well, that's nothing new.
it was full of little styrofoam
Oh,
pellets.
really?
Yeah, she got them all over the house.
Oh. Yeah, I did get Juju a new toy. I got Juju 2 new toys because they had a couple on sale after
Whatever
Christmas.
like brand that is right there, no more of those.
Right? Yeah, I know. I worked for a time with a gentleman who had his own boat and he had his own charter business, and he was like well, I worked with a couple of them like that, a couple
like
of
sticky.
men, older, grumpy men. And I always seem to be like the only chicken in a class with all dudes, or the only woman in an industry dominated by men, or, like I seem to find myself in a lot of those positions, but the funny thing is that I always get along with them. It's like my inner old man just delights in them. So, yeah, it's funny. I can always relate. So, yeah. But that's okay, Hey, you gotta know yourself, and you gotta appreciate yourself, and like yourself, and love yourself, because trust me, we all have quirky, weird things about our character. So appreciate it. God forbid we were all the same, and then that would really suck ass and be very boring. So I do think the Saints are going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Who dat?
That's my prediction. So we're getting excited about that. It is getting closer to Mardi Gras season here. And I saw a king cake in the store the other day. And I was talking to a girlfriend of mine before the show who lives in Western Mass. Um, I know her because of my interest in motorcycles, and she's involved in that community. And I was talking to her. I asked her if she'd ever been to New Orleans, and she said she hadn't, but that someone had brought her. She said bread with a baby in it, and I said, "Oh, a king cake." Yes, I know what that is now. So I was telling her about king cakes, and basically king cakes are a big thing here, and I think they do come out at the start of Mardi Gras season, right, Wayne?
Yeah, they usually come out. They usually start coming out around like second week of January.
Yeah. Well, there are. I already saw one out now.
Yeah, they
They're
come
already
out.
coming out now. Um, and basically, it's like a coffee cake. You know, what I would call a coffee cake. So like a like a dessert breakfast thing. You know, it's sweet, and they have all different flavors and icing on top, and then they often do the icing in purple, green, and gold, which are the Mardi Gras colors, which are my colors too.
We gotta get one from Nona Randazzo's this year.
Yeah,
A real one.
and then they put the baby in it, and then the well, they used to put the baby in it. Now they can't because of the food laws, sanitary laws, or they'll get sued or whatever. So they don't put the baby in it anymore. They just put the baby in the box in a little plastic thing, which kind of sucks because the baby used to be in the king cake, and the thing.
Some places still do it, but a lot don't now.
Yeah, and the thing used to be is whoever got the baby in their piece of cake was expected to buy the next king cake.
Correct.
So
Old
that's
New
the
Orleans
tradition.
Very old New Orleans tradition.
Yeah. Thank you. I've been doing the crown for a while. Um, and the wigs, this is a wig, this is not my real hair. I've been doing those for a little while as well. Yes. Um, if I ever get cancer and need to go through chemotherapy, which I don't want that to happen, but if it ever did, I'd be okay with my wig collection, which I'm building. Yeah, so, yeah. I'm going to get more crowns in the future. This is my only crown. Right now, I only have one crown and one tiara, but I plan to get more further down the line. Yes, you've been gone for a while. I'm pretty sure I didn't see hide nor tail of you for like a month. I believe. Maybe more. You were gone for a while, I know that. But we're very happy to have you back with us. Breaks are good. I encourage breaks. And that's the next thing I'm going to rant about. Yeah, right? I know. You got to find, I can find a silver lining in anything, sort of. But, yeah, so, I was talking to somebody today who, was it that long? Oh, geez, wow, then I'm way off. I usually don't have a very great concept of time. Time is relative. I was talking to a gentleman today who had sent me a book about metaphysics, and I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but it's an enormous book, and I'm very excited to look at it. And he was telling me that he also wrote a book that's you can get on Kindle, which is sort of like his life manifesto, and it's called The Life of Christos. And he released it in different chapters, and it's like sort of like the book that never ends, you know. And but it was funny. He was telling me that he looked up the the sales statistics or whatever, and that book 7 was the one that had the most sales. And I'm like, that's weird. Wouldn't it be book 1? You know, like, I don't know. That seemed really odd to me, but yeah, his. Since I'm mentioning it, I will put a link in the description because I like to do that. If I mention things, I put links in. But eventually, I am going to interview him. Um, Somebody I've known for years. He's very nice, very friendly, funny, great guy. So yeah. Um, but that's just leading me into thinking about one of my New Year's resolutions. Now, with my New Year's resolutions, I do know myself and I try to keep my. I'll show you, Waylon, in one sec. I try to keep my expectations reasonable, and that's where this all started. Because I know myself, and I know like I'm not going to quit smoking cold turkey on January 1st. It's just not going to happen. So that's not my expectation. I want to cut down and lead toward quitting. And then, same with like exercise and drinking water and eating better and all the things I want to improve upon. I know I'm not going to make a huge drastic change in one day where I just make everything perfect the way I want it to be. I just know myself and I know that's not going to happen. So I try to just have goals of improving and, small start, and just making a small start. Sometimes that's all it takes. It's usually the first step that's the hardest. So as long as I start making some movements in the right direction, I know it will build momentum for me. And, you may be different. Everyone's different. But for me, that's what works the best is the start is always the hardest for me. And then once I make the start, momentum builds and, we get some movement. Um, so, yeah, that's what I do. Baby steps. Exactly. Thank you for that phrase. Oh, God. I feel like I'm 106. Hold on. I'm going to show you the book. Oh, I don't why. My leg is killing me. Whew. Okay. A forum with no name. Now, what this actually is he had a group on Facebook. It was a metaphysical group, and he just thought that there was so much useful information in the group that he collected all the information and printed it out in a book. So this is actually the type of book that you could pick up and sort of go to any spot and then put down again. It's not like you don't have to sit down and just read it from cover to back and in one go sort of thing. So yeah, so it's a forum with no name, a time capsule of metaphysics by those of metaphysics for those of metaphysics with Walt Christos. And this is book 1, July 4th, 1997 to August 11th, 1999. So I thought this would be very interesting. And he sent this to me just as a gift. Actually, I got it on my birthday. And yeah, because I said I'd be interested in interviewing him because he's a wonderful guy. And I knew he was an author. I thought I had read one of his books, and I'm still not sure. I may have read one of his Kindle books. I can't, I just can't remember. And I have like over 1,000 books on my Kindle, so I'll have to dig and look and see if I have. Yes, I haven't completely quit yet either. I know myself and I know where I need to be when I have to quit, and I just haven't felt in the right space. But I'm getting closer. I'm cutting down, and you can hear I'm pretty froggy right now, and that's actually that's partly because I have been cutting down, so it's like I'm starting to get some of the junk out because I'm cutting down. And it's also because I have really bad allergies right now, so I've had a lot of postnatal drip. I'm having a horrible allergic reaction. I've got I'll show you, not that you want to see my gory, horrible body, but just so you know what I'm talking about. I've got this bad rash thing going on. and it's spreading a little bit to weird spots. I even got like a bump on my tattoo, and I'm like, I can't scratch that one. I'll mess up my tattoo. So I'm just a little allergied out at the moment. And it's a weird thing too, but this happens with me. I don't know if this happens with everyone, but with me, if I make any sort of change, even if it's a positive one, it throws my whole system off, and my whole system rebels. Um, yeah, they're ant bites, and I don't know if I'm having an allergic reaction to the ant bites or if I also like got in some sort of plant that I'm reacting to, but something happened there. So yeah, I was doing a lot of yard work, and I treated like over 30 mounds, huge um, nests, killing them, bastards. But oh, good, that's awesome. Yeah, I think you'd enjoy it. Well, right, and programming the subconscious is very tricky, very tricky. Um, and it's also discipline. You have to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined. And I'm not always super great with discipline. It's one of the things I've always sort of struggled with. I don't do well with rules and, discipline and that sort of thing. But you have to be disciplined sometimes, to accomplish things. It's just, that's it. And I've tried to get better as I've gotten older and tried to mature somewhat. And yeah, and I have quit smoking many times. I'm an expert throughout my life for long periods of time. So I can do it, but I have to be ready. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm an expert. If anybody wants to quit smoking, I can guide you. I know exactly how to do it. I have a very love-hate relationship with smoking. So, yeah, it's a weird thing. It's hard to describe. So that's that. But anyway, back to the book thing. I am needing, and that's, some of us have more addictive personalities than others, but like the phone, that's the other issue is the phone. I'm so addicted to that bloody phone, I can't put it down. And I've realized that since I got that phone, my reading habits have gone out the window, and I need to bring them back because that's part of me. Ever since I was a very young child, I've been a reader, and and there's just a lot that I want to read. That's how I learn, and it's also how I just find pleasure and enjoyment in reading. So I miss it, and I need to get back into it. And it's hard to sort of, once again, just get disciplined and make the time. But so I'm doing the things that I need to do to get there. So, yeah, all in all, I'd say it's been a pretty good start to the new year because I'm doing some things that I do want to do. I mean, even just like something small, like eating a yogurt this morning, rather than skipping breakfast like I would normally do, is an improvement for me. Trying to eat healthier and whatnot. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure a lot of us are that way. Oh, do you have one of those basic cell phones? Yeah. Yep. I know. No, nor do I. I mean, and it's like I was talking actually to the author of this book about this, which I'm about to mention. When Kindle came out, I was mortified. And I'm like, oh, that's gross. I would never do that. I would never have one of those. That's blasphemy. You need to feel a book and hold it and smell it. And, I would never get a Kindle. That's just wrong. Like my strong, passionate nature, stubborn, opinionated. But that's why I say it's good to be able to bend, because anytime I get really firm in something, eventually I learn how to bend and change my opinion. Um, so, yeah, initially I thought the whole idea of the Kindle was awful, but it was actually Stephen King. He wrote a story called, I don't know how you pronounce it, or your, I think it's just UR. And it was a short story about a Kindle, about a pink Kindle, which and he has a pink Kindle. Kindle went and made him one, and I want it. But that story sort of warmed me up closer to the idea. And then eventually, as people started buying them and they became more popular, I started thinking about, I think it was one night I was actually lying in bed and I finished a book. And it was late, like 3 o'clock in the morning or something. And I'm like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if I could just buy another book right now in bed? And that was the initial idea that led me to warm up to Kindle and to eventually purchase one, which I did. And then the idea of being able to carry 1,000 books on my person was too irresistible too. Like if you go camping, for instance, or even if you're just traveling, going away somewhere, and you don't want to bring 6 books in your suitcase because they are very bulky and heavy. And if you've ever moved with a bunch of books, you know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, that had a certain appeal to it. I still love physical books, and if we ever purchase a home, I would have like to have a little library area, and I'd like to build up a collection again, because I did get rid of a lot, almost all of my books. Um, yeah, there's something about physical books that still does appeal to me. It's like the same with writing. I still like to write, handwritten stuff. It's an art to me, and a skill. And I think these things are going to be dying more and more, and there's going to have to be certain of us that help to keep them alive. So, yeah. But I don't want to get rid of my phone. My precious, how dare you even think such a thing? Don't listen to them, baby. But I do need to learn how to step away from it for a little while at least. Shh, it's okay. It's okay. Calm down. They're just taunting you, darling. Yeah, I do love my phone. I do call it precious. Oh, and I have somebody coming actually to fix it because it's brokey. I actually think that when they were here fixing it the last time, that they broke it themselves, because I had a crack like on the back here. I don't know if you can see. There's a crack like right along the top, and I think the guy did it. And then of course we didn't call him right away. And then of course I broke the front again. Not bad, but it's just like a little up there, down there rather. There's a little crack. So now it's cracked in the back, cracked in the front, and then I just fucking broke the stylus. So I'm really batting 1,000 with my phone right now. And Wayne and I have been talking about upgrading anyway, and we may soon, but nonetheless, the phone will be, we will own the phone at that point. It'll be paid off, and why have a broken one when we have insurance? Might as well get it fixed and have it be decent and new and in good shape, in case I need a backup phone, in case I need to give it to one of my kids someday, whatever, you know. Why not have a whole phone instead of a cracked, broken one? That's my philosophy. So I'm having them come to fix it, I think, on Wednesday. And I do like that they can just come to the house to fix it. That's cool, too. So, yeah. My precious. So we were looking at phone. We've been always looking at phones for a while, trying to think of what to get next. I love my Note 8. I wouldn't need to necessarily upgrade. Like, I love my Note 8. It's fabulous. I could still continue using this. And I've had it for, what, 2 years now, you know? I don't really need a new one necessarily. I love it. It's fantastic. It's a sticky frog. I know, it looks like a big snot. I play with all these sensory toys. It's a little sticky frog with styrofoam beads in it. I am the sensory toy gal. So yeah, I think this was quite a while back. This might have been like a year ago. Wayne and I went into a Verizon store and we were looking at these phones that are really fucking cool because they can take photographs and video in 3D. It's like, it's really crazy. But you know, if you've seen if you've seen those pictures that they put on Facebook, with the 3D pictures, that only an Apple phone, I guess, can take those, supposedly, except these phones can. But with these phones, I'm pretty sure, and they're called Red. And but with the Red phones, the 3D pictures and video, I think, can only be shared with other people who also have a Red phone. So even though it seems kind of cool, and it was a cool looking phone, it looked very like industrial and sort of heavy duty, and it looked like it could take a fall and not crack, for instance. And I like that, but you know, if nobody else is going to have the phone other than like Wayne and me to share between us, I don't know, do we really need it? You know, I don't know. It's a cool concept, though. I think, like, if he and I had it and, like, all 6 kids had it, you know, then maybe I might be like, yeah, but that's not going to happen, so. No, it's not a dog toy. Although, you're not far off there. Yeah, and then other phones that we've seen. So we did look at the Galaxy, the Note, or the Samsung Note 10s to see if we wanted to upgrade to those. And I said to Wayne, at this point, we might as well wait for the Note 11s to come out because the 10s aren't that much different than the 8s. And we might as well wait for the 11 to come out because I think the 11 is supposed to have some good bells and whistles. But then we've also been looking at the Galaxy Folds, which look kind of cool. And I know Wayne really thinks those are neat. You know, so they fold in half, and then, you know, so they open up to almost tablet size. And yeah, I really love the stylus. I know it's just a little stupid thing, but for me, I love the stylus, and I actually use it all the time. Really just, I only use the stylus if I'm playing games, or sometimes I'll write a note on it. But I like it. I like it having the stylus. I like that it pops right into the phone, so you can't lose it, you know, and it's just, it's in there. It's in the phone. And, you know, you can do kind of cool things with it. Like, let me see if I can show you here. So I pop the stylus out, so it's like it slides right into the phone, okay? And then what happens is a little menu pops up like this, and then you can actually move the menu around, and just for instance, like if I go to live message, okay? Oh, there's a very sexy picture of me. Hold on. Not a naughty one, thank goodness, because that would not be appropriate. But um, what happened here? Why isn't it going to a blank page? That I'm confused about. I thought I went to live message. Hold on. Yes, I did. That's weird. Why is it doing that? All right. Maybe I'm confused. It's been a while since I did the live message. So let me just create a note. So you hit create. No, it's not doing it. Oh, yeah, here we go. You can tell I'm a technology genius, right? Okay, so yeah, I was going to show you something really funky it can do. Like you can write a message and it'll come out like, it'll look like fireworks and stuff. But basically, yeah, I just like having the stylus. You can, even like if you've got kids and you're on a long car trip, you can be like, here, draw something, go color, or whatever. Um, it's just cool. You can take notes. Like, it's another gimmicky thing, but it's one that appeals to me. I like the stylus. Once now that I've had a phone for 2 years that has a stylus sort of in there, like I've gotten used to it, and now I want it. I mean, you can get other styluses. Um, Obviously, you can buy a stylus and use it with any phone, but these are just different. And supposedly the new styluses on like the Note 10 and the Note 11 do more than this one too. Like you can take a picture just by clicking the button on the stylus, and so you can use it like a remote control. And I think there's a few other things that it does. So yeah, well, you will become addicted to them, so you're probably being smart because they're very addicting. And that is no accident, I'm sure. Um, they're very appealing. I mean, I think about, eventually it's going to be like, like a panel on your arm. It's coming. It's coming. Just you wait. It's coming. But yeah. What can you do? I mean, I tend to be a little old-fashioned at times, and I do like the old ways, but you can only fight it to a certain extent. I also think you can sort of be too checked out and not relevant to the times. And that's not going to do you any favors either. So, there needs to be sort of a midway point. And I've tried to find my happy one. I like to play chess and backgammon and on a real board, and I like to read real books and I like to write on paper. Um, but I like to also be at least familiar enough with technology so that it's not all passing me by. And I know that I'm better at it than some people my age who can't manage anything at all.
For
So,
sure.
you know,
No pun intended.
right? I don't want to have to like call one of my kids up to have them program the fucking VCR for me or something like I've seen other adults do. Yeah, and if you like this sort of thing, but you can't afford a Galaxy, a Samsung Note, there's a cheaper one. Ooh, called oh, what the fuck's I think it's called like the Note something. I've There's a cheaper one that they sell in Walmart that's a knockoff of the Samsung Galaxy ones. Because I had one for a little while when my Galaxy had broken. It's called the Note 3, I think, or something like that. And maybe there's another one now. I don't know. It's been a while. But Is that what it was called? Oh, let me do a search because now I'm probably remembering wrong. Um, it's not the Note 3, but it was something like that. Hold on, I'll look it up. But if you need to save money and you don't want to spring for the, I know these are the more expensive phones. Um, you can get a cheaper one, and it's not as good. I'm not gonna lie. You know, the quality isn't as good, but they're passable. Um, Let me see, what are they called? I'm doing a quick little Google search here because I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, it was called a Note 3, I guess. Right? No, I'm looking at something else. What the fuck did they call it? I can't remember now. Oh, I'll find it later and I'll post it. But you can get like a knockoff cheaper one, is the point. I know not everybody can afford these phones. They are pricey, you know, but we didn't pay for them like in one go. We paid for them slowly over time. So, right? Yeah. Yeah, so that's that little story. Um, it is getting close to time. Yeah, I have all sorts of things that I play with, Waylon. Crazy, huh? So, I was thinking about something else I was going to talk about earlier. Also, excuse me. Oh, I know. Now it's coming back to me. And this is just a silly little thing. Um, but I saw this video today on YouTube. It was just like I stumbled upon it. It was in my feed or something. And it was this woman who was on a flight. And it was an older video. Like it was at least a year old, maybe older. I don't recall exactly. But basically, this woman was on a flight and it hadn't left the ground. The plane hadn't left the ground yet. So they were still, you know, on the ground. They probably had just boarded or whatever. But the woman was complaining to the stewardess because there was a baby sitting in the aisle next to her. There was a mother with some children, and the infant was crying. Okay? So the woman was evidently had yelled. So this single businesswoman had sort of apparently yelled at the mother with the baby and then was complaining to the stewardess. And she said, I work for the governor. And, you know, she was trying to sort of act important and name drop. And she was clearly trying to embarrass and shame the woman with the baby. And she wasn't being very polite and friendly to the stewardess, and, you know, and she asked her name, you know, and she wrote her name down, and she said, you know, I think you might be out of a job by next week. Now, I get it. I've been in stores before where I'm getting frustrated and impatient and I don't know what else to do. And oftentimes I will also ask for the employee's name. I can do that sometimes myself. And it's not that I'm trying to be snooty. It's just I'm hoping I'm just going to sort of intimidate them a little bit so that they'll help me because being nice isn't working. So I can sort of get to that heated level myself occasionally. But this woman, she was being very rude. And I certainly would never expect a baby to stop crying because the mother doesn't want it to cry so it won't disturb the other fucking passengers on a plane. No matter how annoying it can be, it's a baby. You know, that's how it communicates its needs. And If you're that important, get your own fucking plane. Otherwise you have to deal with the rest of the peons. And this person is what I call a pip. Is that what I used to call him? A pip. Yeah, a pip. A person in power. Okay. Um, or I prefer to call them peons in power. It's like they're people that want to feel sort of big and authoritative and above us all, but really they're the same as the rest of us. They're just acting like they're not. Because if they were above us all, they wouldn't be so fucking pissed off and miserable and cranky and causing a scene. Right? So she's just pissed that the governor who she works for didn't put her in first class or whatever and taking it out on everybody around her. Okay? So what ended up happening is the stewardess actually threw her off the fucking plane, which was brilliant. And see, I've worked as a stewardess myself, not on a plane, but on a boat, and it's not all that much different. And what you need to understand is that a crew of any vessel is like a family, and you're in their house. And if you're rude to them in their house, they're gonna fucking boot you out. So you might want to be more polite. So yeah, it was kind of cute and funny. Um, yeah, and it just sort of illustrated how you better be careful because things can backfire on you in a very tremendous way because she lost her job. Not the stewardess, the government employee. Because at that point, it had been recorded with a phone. Everybody has to be careful now. You can't get away with shit like you used to because everybody's got a phone to record you. So, yeah, she lost her job. So, yeah. Um, there are a lot of people out there who have trouble with their ego and thinking that they're more than they're not. And it happens to all of us at some point, and some people worse than others, but never think that you're, you know, too important to get a little fucking backslap because there's nobody who's too important to get a little fucking backslap. And if you deserve a little fucking backslap, you're probably going to get it from somewhere eventually. you know, don't be so snooty and condescending that, you know, you you bite off your nose to spite your face because really she needed to be on that flight. Once she realized she was being kicked off, you could see she knew she had fucked herself and she really needed to be on that flight. But because she had a shitty little attitude, she got kicked off. She thought she was having a bad day, having to listen to the baby cry. Whoa. Her whole day, her whole life got a lot fucking worse because she just couldn't cope for a few minutes. So, you know, that kind of does lead back to emotional regulation. And you have to be able to emotionally regulate. You have to be able to calm yourself down. You know, you have to have good judgment and good discernment about situations that you're in. And is this a good idea to do right now or not? Should I control myself maybe? Because am I going to get myself into trouble if I don't? you know, you have to be able to be able to judge situations, to be able to judge and read the people around you. Um, and you have to be able to control your own self and to know, you know, sometimes it's a good time to speak up and to challenge other people. And sometimes it's necessary and sometimes it isn't. And you need to know the difference, you know. I'm feisty, you know, and I can challenge people at times. But I think I do also have a pretty good grasp on when is a good time to do so and when it's not. If I get pulled over by a cop, I don't think that's a good time to be feisty. I'm very polite and respectful. Like, I'm not stupid, and I know how to control myself. And yeah, emotional regulation is very key and very important to having a successful, happy, good life. That's my little tidbit of advice. You don't want to be that woman. Believe me, she was not a happy camper after that. So, yeah, it's easy to get a big head. You know, you have a success in your life, you're on YouTube, you think you're a movie star, whatever it is, it's easy to get a big head. Stay grounded. So when I say grounding is important, I don't just mean physically, I mean emotionally as well. And, you know, try to keep your ego in check. We're all, hey, Lori, how are you? We're all just a step away from, one side of the scale or the other. Um, and it's not a huge leap. It's not a huge leap to go in one extreme or the other. You can be very, very wealthy. I was just reading about a basketball player in Tennessee who was just like wealthy, wealthy millionaire, and he had like this wonderful romance, and he went from dirt poor to being a millionaire. And then he went through, he had like a bunch of kids, and then he went through a divorce, and then, he ended up getting murdered because he was having money trouble. So he got involved with some illegal activities that led to him being killed. So you see what I'm saying? Like, it's not a far jump to go from like being poor to then being rich to then losing it all. You hear those stories all the time that people become like really wealthy and then they blow it all away. And some of us like who don't have that kind of money, we will look and be like, oh my god, how did they do that? Like, I would never do that. I would be smart with my, you don't know. You don't know what you do because you're not in that position, but it's not hard. It's not hard. And you have to be careful. You have to be careful in this world, in this life. Hey, Teresa, how are you? Oh, did you? Okay. Well, I'm not going to give you like the SATs right now or anything. Don't worry. There will be no quizzes. We're just having a chill night, just gabbing, just chatting. Parasmack. We're talking Parasmack tonight. No big heavy duty things going on. Just hanging out. Just hanging out tonight. So yeah, I like a lot of true crime. I do. I don't really watch true crime on YouTube. That's a whole other community, and there's a lot of drama in that community, and I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to go there. I have enough on my plate of it was enough to learn who was who and a couple of these other communities I peeked into. I don't want to take on another. So I know nothing really about the true crime community on YouTube, but occasionally I do watch true crime programs, just not on YouTube. Um, and I find it fascinating. I do. I find it interesting. And, it's sort of like we all gape at a train wreck, like if we're driving down the highway and there's a car accident, you can't help but to like try to look and see what's happening. I guess that's kind of how it is with me with true crime. Like I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated with the psychology of it all. I'm fascinated with the psychology of the criminals. I'm fascinated with how it affects the victims if they live or their families if they don't. I'm fascinated with how they're caught and the mine hunters there, the FBI profilers. I'm fascinated with all of that. I always have been. I think a lot of us are, you know. Um, yeah. And I think part of it is, you know, it's hard to understand sometimes. And I can't help but wonder if there are ways we can try to help fix some of these situations to make it so that it's not happening so much, especially, like I say, when it comes to kids. Like, I wish I could make it so that children didn't have to go through so much pain in this world. Um, but, as I said tonight, when Wayne and I were in the vape shop, actually, I can't save the world, and recognizing that is also important. I can only do my little bit here and there, so I'm not a savior. I can barely save myself, my own family, never mind the rest of the world. Um, but I am interested in, you know, all sorts of things, and yeah, that's it. I should wrap it up because I'm getting to the rambling. I'm getting to the rambling stage. I'm playing. Look at this gorgeous crystal. So pretty. It's got the rainbow flashes in it. So lovely. Somebody asked me today too if I had a crystal ball, and I don't, but I'm after one. So if you see, and I want a really big one, like a big one, like this size. So if you see one at a good price, let me know, because I won't, you know, I'm thrifty. It has to be a good price, and you know, we're not at our financial best right now. So yeah, right. I'm no captain. Well, I haven't been a captain, but I could. I have steered the ship before, and I have no problem doing that if it's necessary. But it's not always a fun job being the captain. Sometimes it's better to be, you know, the guest. Oh, do you? Yeah, I don't. I don't have one. I've used them before, but I don't have one of my own. So I do want one. I'm after one. Yes, I've looked on Amazon. All right, you guys, I should probably wrap it up. I feel like I've been talking forever. It's been about an hour and 45 minutes, so I think that's good enough for tonight. Like I say, I wasn't even sure I was going to stream tonight. Ooh, I'm knocking my Oh, I'm wearing my crystal skull tonight. I don't know if you can see it. I'll take it off and give you a closer look. I haven't worn this in a while. Oh, nice. Yeah, I really do want a large one. And it doesn't have to be solid crystal. It could actually be glass. I'm not bothered. I don't really think it matters, personally. Um, with other things, I would, you know, with that, it doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't have to be a crystal. I just want it to be clear glass. That's it. That's my only requirement. I think I can use it for what I need, whether it's glass or crystal. I don't think it's really going to matter. But yeah, thanks for popping in, Waylon. It was great to see you again. And I'm glad you're back and about, and I'll have to check out some of your videos. There's my little tiger's eye skull. I do love this. And this has some gorgeous flash in it. Let's see if you can see. Oh, let me see. Take my finger off. I think I'm covering it. Ooh, look at that flash. I love tigers. Look how pretty that is. Ugh, I love it. I love when a crystal has some really nice flash, and boy, does this tiger's eye skull have it. But this is the front of it. This is from a local woman. Really cool skull. I forget. Wayne's got oh, his is trying to remember. His is pretty too, but it's a different stone. But yeah, I really like this. Very cool. Look at that flash. Nice. I haven't named it. I love selenite. I love selenite. I have a nice selenite tower as well. No, I haven't. I haven't. I really haven't spent a lot of time with it yet. Wayne and I got these this summer. Right by, there's this little shop in this little town that has an alligator in the center of town, like in a cage. And so I was visiting with the alligator for the second time. It's the only alligator I've ever seen here. And he's big and fat and he is though, isn't he? And he's maimed. He's like a rescue alligator, but I love him. He's horrible and awful, and I adore him. I would bring him home if I could. Anyway, yeah. So that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. Hey, you guys, have a great night, and be kind to one another. Be safe, be loving, be kind, be generous, be forgiving. Tell your loved ones everything you want to say. Don't let it wait. Don't hold back, because you never know which day is your last day or theirs. And be good, but not too good. And I will be here tomorrow evening if you care to join me then. And yeah, great to see you all. Thanks for joining me. And hope to see you again either tomorrow night or whenever you can make it. And sleep tight and don't let the demons bite. And until next time, I bid you adieu. Good night, you guys.